that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, good evening, folks. How you doing? Hope you've had one of those sorts of days that puts a smile on your face and puts a smile on somebody else's. I think I've managed to do that. Have I managed to do that today? Yes, I've been able to put a smile on somebody else's face today, and I've been able to put a smile on my own on the odd occasion today. Hope you've been able to do the same. Lots of interesting things happening in the world. JFK files. Wow. They are beginning to be dumped. They started to be dumped, I think, on the 18th, that's the American 18th. So in the evening, that's just this afternoon, they've started dumping out. I have a few here. I haven't been through, well, it's going to take some time to go through them all, and I seriously doubt I'll be the one going through them all. Tell you what I'll do, though, for all you lovely research types, how about I paste up the place where you can go and get them in the chat? So there you are. This is the archive section here, and this will take you to today's release. There are some 31,500 files involved in this release, and and this is what all governments rely on. Bury it in the paperwork, and people like me or you are not likely to want to sit down and read 31,500 pages of shit to find out who shot JFK. The answer to who shot JFK is pretty simple. The New World Order, a group of corporate entities, global entities, worked together, all paid a fee, and had the job paid for because he was going to blow the truth on the Federal Reserve and how that banking system has been nothing but a fraudulent system, a slavery system, a system designed to enslave everybody who deals with it. And they couldn't have that happen. So who made it happen? Well, it was a CIA operation, and obviously Lee Harvey Oswald was involved, but whether or not he fired any shots is immaterial. He was just simply the patsy for it, and the shots, definitely the kill shots, were fired from CIA operatives. Now, let me just go back down here to my videos, and I have kept this in slow motion so that you can watch this again. Now, some people might be seeing this for the first time. I don't know how long I've been playing it, a couple of years probably. This shows the kill shot, if you like, of JFK. So if you're a bit squeamish about these sorts of things at this time of night, then you may not want to watch this. But it is in slow motion, and you won't be watching JFK's head. I'm going to direct you to watch the driver of the car, who is the person sitting far right-hand side of the vehicle as it drives up the street. And I want you to watch what he does. You will see him reach around like so, over his right shoulder, and hold a gun over his shoulder and fire the trigger and put the gun away, and the car will begin to speed up and move away. This is you've heard of the Zapruder film? Well, that was a doctored film, whether you believe it or not. There is a giveaway image in it, in that there is half a tree. There's literally the top half of a tree floating in the film. It doesn't have any roots. It doesn't have anything connecting it to the ground. So that's one way that you can dismiss that film. If people and that's what the world has relied on for years as the proof of the assassination. So here we go. Watch this. So police come down in the motorcade. Now you're watching the driver, who is the far right-hand person in the front seat of that open-top limo. Keep watching him. Keep watching him. There you go. Did you see that? Yes? Do you want to have another look? I heard somebody say yes. I'm sorry, I should have just cut the kill shot out, but that seemed a bit ghoul-like, so didn't want to do that. So here we are, car coming down. Watch the guy in the right-hand seat of that limo as we look at it. Jackie and the president in the back. He's driving. He reaches over his shoulder, pulls out the gun, bang, and that is the kill shot for JFK. In plain sight of everyone on the streets there that day. So obvious, and yet so unseen by so many. There were a lot of people in Dallas, Texas that day, and for none of them to realize the shot came from the driver is not difficult to believe. If you have America's favorite son, the greatest president since Washington, some would claim, or maybe since Lincoln, although there are a few stories there, he and his lovely wife Jackie, who was at the time, such a star around the world, on not just a first lady, but such a well-known figure in fashion and so many other things. All the eyes would have been glued to them, or the Secret Service detail running behind and beside the vehicle. I don't think there were any beside the vehicle. They were a couple behind. Now, you can see how long it takes for him to pull the gun out, pull the trigger, and put it away. It is literally bang. That's how long it takes. So people at the time were reacting to the first shot, which is the one they're attributing to Lee Harvey Oswald, which nobody actually believes Lee Harvey Oswald fired. Interesting times. Oops. It has been made very clear that the Bush family are quite heavily involved with all of this. And the Bush family have, quite a history. For those people that aren't aware, the Bush family was not their original family name. Their original family name was Prescott. Pardon me. And they were originally, Prescott was originally around the Nazi Party and was hired to covertly infiltrate the United States government during World War II, came to America, changed his name to Bush. He had a son, George H.W., I think was George Sr., wasn't it? George, as a child, was hired to monitor the world of Nikola Tesla, for which the cartoon Curious George was written. Did you know that? He helped not only create the CIA, he was at the head of the CIA at the time JFK was assassinated, and he is assumed to be the mastermind of it. George Jr., there's the HW, he was the second Nazi president, claimed here. He essentially followed orders because he wasn't very bright, that's what it says. Held the office during 9/11, which I think, if you still believe, was not a false flag, then there's something wrong with you. He ordered and ushered in things like the Patriot Act, the Military Commissions Act, and, of course, started the War on Terror, which it's claimed here has killed over 1.5 million Iraqis alone. And there is Marvin down the bottom end there, who was an insider in 9/11 and the head of security at the Trade Center for 9 months prior to the demolition. He was very useful at letting in the teams that wired that building up. So, interesting times. Australia was involved in this rather interesting little charade, as it sort of appears to be. Now, I'm going to try and see whether or not I can share a screen that I have open, and I think it's that one. Okay, now, This is a CIA release document. The subject is about an anonymous telephone call to the United States Embassy in Canberra, and it refers to the conversation had on the 24th of November 1963. In Canberra, the conversation was reported to be a telephone conversation on the prior day, which would be the 23rd of November, with an individual who described himself as a Polish chauffeur for the Soviet embassy in Canberra. This individual, while discussing several matters of intelligence interest, touched on the possibility that the Soviet government had financed the assassination of President Kennedy. Reference was made to this in a cable to the receipt of a similar anonymous telephone call on October 1962. This was ushered through chain of command and sent out via their Melbourne Signals Directorate back to the US, where there were some rather other interesting sort of things to put forward. I might want to... that didn't work. Now I've lost it. Bugger. Let me see if I can bring it back. That might be more difficult than I first assumed. In fact, it's going to be very difficult because I don't know what bleeding page it was on. All right. Anyway, all right. Well, I won't go back to that one. I'll go to the next one that I can show you, at least. I'll try and blow my screen up so I can see it a little bit. The guts of this letter is some communications between the American CIA and Australia's ASIO. And they're referring to this telephone conversation and the documents that were produced out of it between the anonymous Polish embassy driver, Soviet embassy driver, and their connection in town. Now, this document is called CD-971 or CD-971. They're referring to it here, and attached is a sealed letter from Sir Charles Spry, I think his name is, the Director General of the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, or ASIO. He had previously provided a letter to the contact at the station in Melbourne, where all the communications were coming from at that time. He has also seen a reply from Sir Charles from ASIO, who recommended that the document CD-971 never be released publicly for probably a variety of reasons. Now, why do we talk about this document at all? Well, there's no real reason to talk about it other than the fact that it appears at one point they were going to try and introduce it as evidence that the Russians did it. So Charles' letter to you, this is talking to the CIA officer, recommends against declassification of the Warren Commission document CD-971, which refers to our investigation of anonymous telephone calls to the Canberra Embassy before and after the assassination of President Kennedy. There is another document, which I think is this one. It indicates that the Australians believe this to be a bit of a crank. The Australians did believe that this guy was a bit of a crank. None of the information that he gave about himself or the car he owned or where he worked or anything like that actually checked out, although the Soviets at the time wouldn't probably confirm they had a Polish driver. They'd just take him out and shoot him. As a joke. I mean that. They wouldn't, of course, done that at the time. But there was no evidence ever found of this guy. So the CIA fellow replies back. His name is Richard Helm. Thank you for your letter of October 15 recommending against the declass of the Warren Commission document CD-971. I cite the section that our inquiry to you in August of 68, I want to say that is, was in anticipation of further pressure for the release of the Warren Commission papers, a pressure which has not materialized. Accordingly, there is, at the present time, no intention to release CD 971. So they quite happily decided that they would not release document CD 971 for whatever reason. The reasons, it turns out, was because it was a pretty shonky thing, and nobody could actually get the document sorted and confirmed that these details happened. Oh, look at that. The bloody thing has dropped on me again. All right, give me a moment, folks. I will just let me find something I can put up there and see if that works, and I'll be back. Bloody hell. I don't know what's going on with these browsers. There are animals in the machine. Starting to give me the shites. At any rate, some other interesting news. The Australian involvement, I think, was a furphy. The Russians did it, trying to cover it all up. The rest of the documents that I have seen and seem to have lost a bit of track of here in the play of things, so I'm not going to screw it all up, indicate in pretty stark detail how the plan was originated. Are there names? I haven't been able to read all 31,500 documents in the last 3 hours. I'm sorry. But if you would like to have a crack at it, and if you find anything interesting out of it, please share it with me, because I'll be honest, I do not have the time to read 31,500 pages of documents. But if we share it all, that would be lovely. Now, I've just pasted the link up to the archive site. So if you want to copy and paste that, you'll be able to go and download those files yourself and crack on and see what you can come up with there. Now, there's been some shouting and squealing today about the redactions inside the JFK documents. Now, the CIA made a request to and here's the strange thing. We know they made this request. So the CIA made a request to only redact anything that mentioned Israel. Or redact the word Israel. Not anything to do with Israel, but redact Israel out of all the JFK documents. Why were there JFK documents? Well, as it turns out, the CIA had a fellow working inside there for many years called Angelton, I think his name was. And he had unfettered access to CIA assets, but was, with approval, working for Israel and the Israeli security services. Now, nothing weird with that. You'd say, okay, they have people liaising between security services all the time. Well, yes and no. But in this case, nobody was overseeing or vetting the quality of information that he was providing through Israeli intelligence to his CIA people. Now, this information has been released as part of the JFK files, and it gives you a lot of history, if you like, to what happened in 1963. In fact, the document that I'm speaking about here is from 1954. So there are a lot of other strange, interesting names that are going to pop up, including a man named Underhill, who you may or may not have heard of before. He was a CIA operative, what's called as an un-person in the day. They were basically disappeared from society but existed, and they did CIA operations. He disappeared the day after the Kennedy shooting from his home in Washington, D.C., and turned up later that night in New York at some friend's place, where he was apparently very, very anxious, very nervous, very concerned. And he told those friends that there was a very dangerous group in the CIA who were making a lot of money over illegal drugs, illegal gun transfers, and I dare say people smuggling operations. And they were not going to allow Kennedy to bugger that up for them. In fact, their world operations were only growing. And to have Kennedy pull the plug on the Fed would have stopped all the money going to the deep state. And the deep state had already infiltrated the military quite clearly by this stage, as they were running their own businesses out of there at the time. Now, this bloke said to the people that night in New York City that he was very concerned for his life, that he knew too much about the operation, that he wasn't part of the clique, as he called it, and he may have to leave the country. 6 months later, he was found dead in his flat in Washington, D.C., and a coroner ruled his death a suicide. However, the nature of his death and the the way the bullet entered the skull, the fact that nobody heard a gunshot, there were a whole heap of very suspicious circumstances around his suicide, but he was suicided, it seems. And somewhere in the rest of those 31,500 documents, you may well just find enough information to find out who suicided him. I'll race you. Start at the top and see at the bottom, so to speak. Now, I'm just having a bit of a look at what else I had to throw up in here, and I think I got so excited about what I was doing, I didn't load in a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, or I've dumped them already. Maybe I did. Maybe they're up above what I was talking about. All right. I'm going to have to use code words when I show you this. This is a few days old now, probably up to a week old, but a new study has been published that confirms that ventilators killed more people than the spicy cough. And this is quite a serious and damning report that I've seen most of. And unfortunately, it doesn't relate to Australia. We need similar people with these sorts of skills to start making similar kinds of investigations. And if a report indicates the same kind of thing as this seems to have indicated, then something very desperately needs to be done about it. It needs to be done about it very, very, very quick. There's been a great deal of talk about P. Diddy recently. He was in court, I think, recently via video conference, which is a good way of keeping him alive, keeping him on video camera, or at least capturing, oh, no, wait, that doesn't work, does it? Because Jeffrey Epstein was in jail and they still managed to get to him. Or did they? Anyway, more stories. P. Diddy and co were back in court the other day. I don't know the outcome or what it was for. He was probably trying to get out, and if he had got out, we would have heard all about it. So he hasn't got out. What has happened, though, is that there is a new copper that's been appointed in town, a guy called John Pelletier. He happened to be the police chief in Maui when Maui caught fire. He also happened to be one of the head honchos in Las Vegas when the supposed Muslim-inspired shooting happened at that open-air concert. And, you know, the guy who was up in a hotel room and shot X amount of thousands of rounds from like 15 different guns all at the same time. And, yeah, that was supposedly a Middle Eastern terror attempt or an assassination attempt that was foiled by white hats. And there's probably hopefully more to come out on that if that is to be the case. But I found that to be a pretty interesting little admission that this fella, this Pelletier, Maui police chief when all the shit went down in Maui with the fires, and he was also highly involved with the Las Vegas shooting. And now he has been named as P. Diddy's sort of number one go-to security fix-it dude. And he's claiming that he's going to sue people for saying that. But, well, there seems to be plenty of evidence. And I don't know that he'll want to be running a little case with me when he's got much more on his hands at the moment. They appear to have arrested him. And if you read alternate media, I guess he's probably not on the continental USA anymore. Don't know that he'll be in Gitmo, although if you read the right pieces of news, you'll discover that they're hanging people there every other day. So I think Mike Pence's hanging, I think they've decided on for him, will be coming up in the not too distant future. If we ever see any evidence of it, I would be wonderfully impressed, but who knows? There does appear to be some interesting stuff happening along with Hillary and what was on that server. Now, it is believed that Hillary ran something of an auction. All American information was for sale. Now, she ran this while she was Secretary of State, this operation, and she was working hand in glove with another person. Now, I'm sure you're probably able to guess who that person is, but that'd be Barack Obama, because he needed to keep her on a tight leash, given her destructive wants and her huge desire for his job. So there are a lot of machinations behind Hillary, but at the moment, all evidence seems to point that she has committed treason of the most serious, high level. Now, if you believe the alternate media, she was put to death a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, at least by now, 4 years ago. And what we're seeing now is a clone or a plastic spastic or whatever they're calling them these days. I tend to agree. She certainly looks a bit different to anything we've ever seen her before. And we've all seen the vision of the day she fainted or fell down and collapsed getting into that black van that pulled up. And there was a gentleman sitting facing the doorway as they opened those doors. And from inside, she was getting into the van. And the story was, of course, that was JFK Jr. sitting in there. Still no signs of JFK Jr. However, I guess we'll wait and see. A little bit of bureaucratic bastardry that I found the other day. Now, this is a new highway that is cutting through the Amazon rainforest. It is being built for a very specific reason. This is the specific reason it's being built. A climate summit is being held about 350 kilometers outside of outside of Blem or Bleem, or however you say that. And so that the delegates can avoid the traffic. God love them. We'd hate to be, upsetting them. So they can avoid the traffic. They are building a new highway straight through unmolested Amazonian rainforest. But if you have a bit of a look at the rest of that picture, there's not a lot of green left in that part of the world. So it looks to me like they're just going to catch up to the road and overrun it eventually anyway. But that used to be called the lungs of the world, that part of the world. And these days, and not so much. So, yeah, no fun at all. Hey, listen, I forgot to say who was in high at the front of the room tonight. To drag myself up the top and find out. Donna Lee, how are you? Happy to have you in. First in, too. About 1 minute. Oh, no, this might have all rejigged because I had to go out and come back in. So, sorry about that. You may not have been first. Pack the cone. It's time for Carl. Thank you. What the? Hi, Sharon. G'day, Adele. got all these new names popping up, or names I haven't seen for a while at least. Hello, Belinda. To the moderators in tonight, Michelle, I think Aussie Sue is floating around. I don't know if I've seen Sunflower in yet. I want to send my best to Sandy and Baz tonight. They buried Baz's brother today, so it's been a big family day for them. And I know our family feels a great deal for them, so I'll pass on your thoughts and best wishes to them today, of course. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to catch up with Sandy over the weekend. Fingers crossed she'll be calling past, popping in and saying hi. So we'll be able to catch up a little bit with them, and maybe we'll get Barry on camera. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. G'day, Katrina, Craig, Paul. Alberta. See, now I'm not even going to bother to address you. If you had any idea what a washed-up radio hack was, I don't know, maybe you were one. Maybe you are one. Maybe you think I am. I don't care what you think. Nobody does. And right now, bye. So, I just couldn't be bothered dealing with trolls. Not simple, pathetic, basic insult offering trolls. I mean, brain dead moron can come up with something better than that. God almighty. You people think you know how to insult someone? You've got no idea. None. Pathetic, weak little keyboard warrior that you are. Alberta. Fuck me. It's just... Well, I think I've wasted enough breath. Susan, you caught me. I'm an idiot. Left-hand seat. You're right. Right-hand side, left-hand seat. But at the right-hand side as we viewed the vehicle. I may have confused the whole thing up. But yes, in America, vehicles drive from the left. But we were watching it from the front, and I was trying to get you to keep your eye on the driver who was at the far right of picture. So maybe that's where the confusion lay. I may have buggered it up, though, but that was my intent, just so we've got all that straight. Yep, President Jordan was right up to his chin in it, and we're going to find out a lot more about that when the documents are led through. Johnson, I should have said. J1, you are onto it, mate. I think we're going to have to delve a little deeply to find out exactly which or who are the Jesuits involved. We already know that some of them have been identified. At the end of the day now, does it really matter? It was just done. We know the general groups involved. It was all the secret societies, all of them. All of the dark underbelly of the world, the deep state, as we know them. And they were doing it because JFK was about to rip the head off the Federal Reserve Bank and expose its inner workings to the world. And, you know, for those of you that aren't aware, might be watching for the first time and been asleep all your life, the Federal Reserve is not a government-owned agency in America. It's not part of the government. It's a private corporation. Why does a private corporation control all the finances of the United States of America? Well, you might ask the same question of our Reserve Bank here in Australia. And if you come up with a good answer for that, just, you know, let me know. Not the one they taught you in school, right? Because that's the brainwashing. And sometimes for us, that's the hardest thing to fight back against. We've all been brainwashed from the moment we've been taken to kindergarten and put in front of somebody else who had an opportunity to educate us the same way they had been educated and they had been taught to educate. Do you remember how we used to have to learn things by rote, by memory, you know, your times table? Do kids even learn the times table these days, I ask? Not wondering? Well, I guess I do wonder a bit because do they even do maths anymore? Don't you just say, hey, Siri, what's 257 million minus 5 or whatever, and they'll come up with an answer? I see kids struggle every day trying to hand over the change at a cash register when it tells them how much they have to give you. So let's say the kid has got to give you $3.15 change. They struggle identifying the coins. I mean, how can this be? Well, they've been brainwashed into a card. That's all. It's easy to tap. Oh, look, we can do it off a phone. Just beep. Don't have to do anything. Oh, the convenience of it. The convenience of it. So easy to do. So easily tracked. So easily defrauded. So easily led. So easily brainwashed. But aren't we all at that age? We all take up. I'm not blaming young people. I mean, that's what they do. They take up new technology very quickly. But what about when the chip implants come? Like the video I showed you a couple of weeks ago, where there is a robot type arrangement that plants a chip in your eye or behind your eye, or at least goes in through your eye. Now, that is going to be as commonplace as getting your ears pierced at the chemist. That's how they're going to do this. They're going to sell it as the new next great trendy thing. Oh, kids, you don't have to carry your phone or have a card or carry cash. God, no, just wave or blink or wink or put your eye up to this thing and we'll know it's you and we'll pay the bill. Of course, if you've been a person of interest in a crime or you have a bad name or you've shit-stirred the wrong person, when you stick your eye up to that little thing to get measured and read, it's going to deny you access to your own money. And then what? What are you going to do then? Well, people have that same thing happen to them every day when they lose power. It's, what do I do? What do I do? How do I get money out? How do I do? And how many people do you see freaking out at the supermarket when the power goes out? Because they don't have any cash. They've got $500 worth of groceries that, about quarter fill the trolley, and they've got no way of paying for it. It's all coming. Well, it's already here. There is a nice way you can save yourself, a bit of that problem. You could pull out a, Ainsley round, a 1 ounce round. Speaking of gold pricing, silver pricing, holy. All right. Well, life, the universe, and everything is getting rather interesting. For 3 days, I think it's gone through the $3,000 barrier. That's gold I'm talking about. Right now, it's sitting at $3,027.10, or in Australian terms, $4,785.17. Silver. Now, the spot price for silver in US dollars, and the mark we're looking for there is 42, I think. That's the highest of the highs for silver. At the moment, it's 33.74, or in Australian terms, 53.33. That's the silver spot price per ounce. If you're not buying it at the moment, folks, I've got to tell you, it's not going to get any cheaper, is the feeling I get. I've been watching the price up and down, but it only goes down by a few cents, maybe $1, and then it's back up again the next day. Gold, very strong. And, of course, we know silver lags behind it. You've heard Michael from Ainsley Bullion say that to you before. There is always quite a lag effect, and it doesn't spring back at pace. It gathers pace as it comes back. And we are ready for that bust moment. And if you haven't already signed up to the Ainsley newsletter, please do, because the guys there do a huge amount of research on this, and they will explain to you exactly why they believe the silver price is certainly on the up and up. They can't tell you the exact date where, life, the universe, and everything as we want it to be is going to happen. But I suggest, with what's going on in America at the moment, You'd like to say sooner rather than later, but who knows? And we've said before, there are these dates that get thrown out. I have no interest in supplying dates. I have no real belief in dates, but it would be remiss of me not to tell them to you because you might like dates. So April the 11th is a day that's being touted as the economic crash date. That is the date where the fiat system will be shut down and supposedly the new Nasara Jasara system, which is currently in operation apparently, but I've seen no evidence of it personally, will take over. And that means you and I get these new bank accounts based on our current bank accounts. The fiat cash in those bank accounts will be transferred into a gold and silver weight balance. And from there, you'll be able to add to, subtract to, and whatever. Of course, the other side or another portion of that theory is that your SESQV trust will be accessible to you then. At least you will know of it. Whether or not you will have full access to it is a different matter. I am led to believe, because of the nature of humans and this point in our existence, if you were allowed access, if we were all allowed access to our SESQV trust, Jerry Harvey is going to become a quadrillionaire because everybody's going to run down and buy a new bed and a new telly and a new washer and a new anything they bloody want. And that isn't how it's going to work. What will happen, I believe, with your SESQV trust is that you will be able to draw a living wage from it, and a good living wage. You won't have to live on the edge and, beg for an existence like Centrelink would have you do. You will be able to draw against your trust and live the life you want to live. Now, if you choose to just party and holiday, well, good luck. I don't think that you will be allowed to just waste your money. And of course, any transfers with it will be blockchained, so they will be immediately trackable, and anybody who tries to rip anybody off, one assumes, can have it taken back from them. I don't know. We'll have to get a crypto specialist. I know one of those. His name's Vince. We haven't had him on in a while. We'll get him on to have a chat about that. So crypto is doing, well, weird things. America is very excited at the moment because some crypto crooks have been caught. Woohoo. Where's Fauci? Why isn't he in handcuffs? I did see Kash Patel a tweet or an X. What do you call that? A spurt? An X spurt? That could work. At any rate, he released something on X that said, America, you'll be so proud. Today, we caught three of the top 10 most wanted people in America. I had to reply. I said, did any of them happen to have the Epstein files unredacted on them? We're still waiting. And we're waiting. And we're still waiting. I haven't heard this on Red Alert. Apparently there will be an inquiry. I would hope so. There were a number of people calling for it, politicians as well as people like you and I. And those hate speech laws need to be repealed. And I did see something from one of the Jewish girls on Sky News. Oh, they're probably all Jewish on Sky News. But if they're not, they want to be, or at least they're going to tell you as many lies and propagate the bullshit as they can, has been my nearest thing. But one of those girls, I don't know if it was Rita Panahi or someone, was saying, "Oh no, we can't have that. We've got to, keep ramping up this sentiment, this fantasy that Jews here in Australia are being hunted." They're not. Nobody in Australia cares enough. All right, there might be the odd whacker that comes in from overseas who might be weird and wild, but Australia has a way of moderating those souls a bit. And I'm not for a moment suggesting there isn't a danger, but I query the fact that we've got Dutton offering $35 million to rebuild a synagogue, and we've, if I can find it, we've got this friggin' moron who is offering to pledge $31 million to the Adass Israel synagogue rebuild. I don't know what your experience with Jewish people has been, but I'll be honest. My experience with Jewish people have been is that they have a lot of money. I don't know too many poor Jews. I also happen to know that they do tithe a lot of money to their synagogues. Why are we paying for it? What if you and I wanted to go and pray to cow? Oh, no, the Indians have got cow. What if we wanted to go and pray to, I nearly said pussy. That would just not work. Why don't we go and pray to horse? And I want to have a $40 million church to horse so that you and I can go there and celebrate horse every race day, weekend. Would the government stump up for us, do you think? I mean, I don't know, we could have little halo thingies and flash gold chains to wash around. We can put in some stained glass windows if it would make them, I mean, $40 million would go a fair way, wouldn't it? Why are we paying for that? What right does this particular synagogue have to claim Australian taxpayer money for its rebuild? And if we're giving 31 or 35, or maybe we're giving 66, which sounds like the right number, $30 million, I beg your pardon, $66 million to this synagogue rebuild, because if Albo gives them 31 and then this bloody freak moron Lurch gets in and gives them his 35, well, that's $66 million. But if they were given $66 million, and as I've said, the Jewish like to contribute to their own. They won't contribute to much else, but they'll contribute to their own. How many hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be put into this bloody church? And why are we paying any of it? I'd ask your local representative about that, the person that you talk to who goes to Canberra a bit, because I'd be very interested to know what the logic behind all that is. Religions are charities. Yeah, that's what they want us to think, don't they? And yes, they are registered as charities, but are they? The Lord has asked me to ask you to keep sending in the money. I used to play a show on the radio at 9:30 every night, every weeknight, called Back to the Bible. It was very early in my radio career. I'm going back to the early 80s here. And Back to the Bible came in from America every week religiously in a box that contained, like 2 or 3 weeks worth of sermons, half-hour sermons that we had to play on the radio every night at 9:30. And I was a new nighttime radio announcer at the time. I remember going into my boss and saying, listen, what is this religious crap we're playing at 9:30 at night? I'm just starting to hit my straps, be really funny, and I'm entertaining the world. I'm going to be huge. I'm very, very, very good. Why are we playing God in the middle of my show? And he said, well, if you go out and find somebody else who'll spend $15,000 a year with us, for that half an hour, then by all means, I'll take it off. I was never a salesperson, so that didn't happen. So religion pays its way in all sorts of places. And the reason I mentioned Back to the Bible is because at the end of it, and on Sunday nights, they used to have a whole 6 hours of God, we used to call it. And at the end of that, you maybe would have played maybe 10 different religious programs, and every one of them at the end said, the Lord has asked me to ask you to please help us out, which is what I'm doing here, but I don't get the Lord to ask you to help me. I'm doing it myself. The Lord has asked me to ask you to keep sending in the money. And it disappeared up to the likes of Tammy Faye's eyelashes. Do you remember her? What was his name? Baker. Tammy Faye Baker, and his name was Jim? I don't know. I think he wound up committing suicide. There are so many preachers making a great deal of money out of their flock. Tithing, and I've got no problem with tithing or anything like that. And if that's what you do, God bless you. Great work is done by most people who are at the receiving end of that. However, there is a portion of preachers, do I would call them that, spiritualists, who are not exactly legit and will happily take your money in return for, their take on a passage from the Bible, if indeed it is, in fact, the Bible that they're reading from. Be very, very careful of things like that, folks. There is only one good book. And if you're going to get advice from someone about it, can I recommend Black Sheep in Tasmania? Marvelous man. Knows a great deal about all the Bibles. Let's just put it that way. Okay, I'm just scrolling down. I've got a man here who has been cooking banana fritters. Can you pass me one? I'm not going to eat it, but I am in fact going to show you. Oh. This is a burnt banana fritter, but I like burnt banana fritter. That one's mine. We will be having those in the not too distant future, and I'm cooking dinner, so we will be going off to go and do something special with that. I'm having a bit of a glance down. Hello, everybody. Angie, I'm missing what question you're asking that on the back of. Andrew, that's my second name. Just thought I'd say that. Yeah, stick away from anything that's corporate, Paul. 100% right. I used to quite religiously donate to the Sullies. I was brought up thinking the Salvation Army were good people. In Victoria, the Royal Children's Hospital appeal, we were always heavily involved with that. There are so many dark things now that have come to light about all of these charities, all of these, supposedly humanitarian organizations, that I won't donate a cent to any of them anymore. There in some cases there is less than $1 of what you donate gets to where it's meant to be. The rest of it's swallowed up in the wages and the administration of the charity. And the church, in some cases, has had that same thing happen with it. So, no, I don't tend to throw in at the bowl either. Who am I kidding? I'd have to go to church to throw into the bowl at church. I don't think the good Lord minds that I don't go to church. We have a pretty good conversation most days of the week, and I don't think he needs me to go to church to prove it. However, I'm sure if he does, he will let me know, and I'll pop along. Donate to yourself what those help them. Lord helps those who help themselves. Ain't that the truth, brother? Ain't that the truth? All right, I'm going to let you folks go. Have a lovely evening. I'm just scrolling down to see if there's any more questions or things there. Now, if you want to go and check out the JFK files for yourself, let me post the link up again. Copy and paste that out, and you'll be able to go and download all of the JFK files. And I believe that this is just the first tranche of them that are coming. God, how many more can there be? The last release, there was a couple early ones that only had small amounts of documents in them. And then there was a large one just before I came on air, and I saw the figure 31,500. So, There you go. What the? I love the way you're working it, mate, and you've reminded me, I guess, because I haven't done it in a while, and pardon me, I am suffering a little bit of ring sting from a conversation that I had with Vince the other day. I better do this.
Hi, are you passionate about supporting independent media and social events? Voice of Freedom is dedicated to bringing you the latest happenings and things that matter. But we can't do it without your help. By donating, sponsoring, or becoming a member, you're not just supporting our mission. You're joining a community that values transparency and engagement. Your contributions allow us to continue producing high-quality content that informs and inspires. Visit VOFHQ.com to make a donation or explore sponsorship or membership opportunities. You can even donate using crypto. Together, we can amplify voices that deserve to be heard as we continue to create a vibrant platform for social change. Go to VOFHQ.com, help us to help you by joining us and making a difference today.
Thank you, beautiful people. And Wayno, thanks for, well, I beat you. I didn't see your comment before I played the ad, but at least Vince isn't going to kick my ass tonight. Well, he probably will, but he'll do it for other reasons. I have been promising that I was going to upload or was going to play a confession from a Australian female Freemason. I haven't got time for it tonight. It's 9 minutes long. Nearly 10 minutes long. What I might do is do a little record of that tomorrow morning and upload it, make it available for you to see as a video, rather than playing a 9-minute segment or 10-minute segment in the show. It'll be there for you to watch if you want to watch it. I'll attempt to upload that between now and sort of 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, when I've got to be at breakfast with somebody tomorrow morning. Got a great little catch up with Tim. And then tomorrow, the world of chainsawing begins. We'll see how good the hand goes. It's not as strong as it used to was. And that probably comes because I haven't been gripping things the way I should. Enough of that out of you all. But yes, time to develop a bit more strength. And I think hanging on to the vibrating head of a chainsaw will probably give me a little bit more of that strength. We've got a number of trees that we've got to clear up and got to do some fire safety work as well. So gloves are off. We're back into doing a bit of work. Looking forward to it. And that should keep me off the road away from the dickheads. You try and do the same.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!